Hi friends, it's Ashley and welcome back to the channel. So today's video is going to be another reading vlog and we are going to be reading recently released YA fantasy books. And so I'm planning to read 3 new YA fantasy releases. And the one I'm starting with first is Midnight on the Celestial by Julia Alexander. And I have already started this. I'm actually almost done with it. I have less than 100 pages left. I am on chapter 27. I'm on chapter 27, page 253, and this book is around 340 pages. And so far, I'm just having so much fun with this. I've been really enjoying this. This book is fast-paced, exciting, and there's never a dull moment in here. And one of the big reasons why this book is so exciting is definitely because of the magic system. So in this book, some people have magic, and the people that have magic are called morphics, and their abilities are very wide-ranging. So you have people who can heal, you have shapeshifters, you have alchemists, you have people who can manipulate time, and really, like, the possibilities seem endless. But one thing I really like about the magic system in this book is all the abilities come with a price. So you have to pay some price for using your magic. For example, our main female character, Ro, is a resurrectionist, and as a price for using her powers, she gets nightmares both during the day and at night. And as a way to ensure that morphics don't abuse their abilities and threaten non-magical people, every morphic has to take a trial when they turn 18 to determine whether they get to keep their magic. And so there are 2 possible outcomes for this trial. Either you pass and you get to keep your magic, or you fail. And if you fail, you get 2 options. You can either have your magic extracted on the spot, or you can go on the magical cruise ship, the Celestial, and serve a punishment sentence on there. And then if you do go on the ship, you compete for guest votes, and whoever gets the most guest votes gets to have a retrial. And then the second thing that I really enjoyed about this book that has kept it very exciting is the setting of this magical cruise ship. So Ro, she does at the beginning of the book, she fails her trial, and so she decides to go on this cruise ship because she can't see life without her magic. And Ro is from a noble family, and it was actually one of her ancestors that came up with the whole trial process, and then another one of her ancestors created the Celestial. And so she's been on the ship before, but as a passenger when she was a child. And then as a child, it was all wondrous and enchanting because the ship was filled with magic, and so she only saw the good sides of the ship. But now, serving as an employee, she's seeing the darker sides of the ship. And she's also seeing how it is an awful place for people with magic to work because their bosses don't care about their well-being and just overwork them. And one of the rules on this cruise ship is after dark, the passengers are not allowed to leave their rooms. And the reason for this is because once it becomes nighttime, the hallways of the Celestial actually become super dangerous and they could kill you. And so in this book, we follow Ro as she is trying to navigate life on the Celestial and trying to get her retrial while also trying to uncover the secrets that this ship is hiding before she becomes its next victim. And so the whole plot in here and the mystery of what is going on with the Celestial is very heart-pounding and exciting. But this book also has a sweeter, warm-hearted side as well. And that is because of the people on the ship. There's very much a feeling of found family in here, and Ro, when she first comes onto the ship, she ends up being taken in by this group of friends. And just like the friendship between all of them and how they always got each other's back, it's just so heartwarming, and I'm also loving that element of this book too. Speaking of that, there is a romance in here as well, and so far it's just been very sweet and wholesome. And so I'm gonna go finish this now because I am super excited to see how everything's going to turn out. And then I'll be back after to share my final thoughts and to talk about the book that we're going to pick up. So like the perfect ending. 5 stars. I thought the ending of this was perfect. And before the ending, this was pretty much sitting at a 4.5 stars for me throughout like most of this book. But it was the ending that brought this to 5 stars for me. So this is a standalone. So the ending does wrap everything up. And it's the type of ending that I like the best. And what I loved about this book was first the found family elements of this. So the found family in here just made my heart so happy. Just the little group that our main character Ro gathers around her. I loved all of them so much. I just want to like hug them and protect them. And the romance was really cute and sweet in here, but I think I enjoyed the found family element just a tiny bit more than the romance. Romance was very wholesome, it was very innocent, it was very pure feeling. It had like that feeling of like the first love type of romance, which is also the type of romance that I love the best in YA fantasy. And then the second thing I loved about this book was the setting of the Celestial. I loved the magical cruise ship setting. I loved how it was both whimsical and magical, but also dark and sinister as well. And in that way, this book reminded me a little bit of the Carnival series by Stephanie Garber, because this one also, like, the magic in there feels extraordinary and whimsical, but also it has like a dark, sinister edge to it as well. And like Carnival, Midnight on the Celestial also is very twisty, turny, full of mystery, and it always keeps you on your toes with trying to figure out what's going to happen next and exactly what is going on this cruise ship. And so if you are a fan of Carnival, I would definitely recommend checking out Midnight on the Celestial. So the book I'm going to be picking up next is Carnival Fantastico by Angela Montoya, and this one came out in February. And this one is also giving me Carnival vibes. First of all, just look at these covers, they're kind of similar. But this one has a magical carnival setting. On the inside flap it says, "Look beyond the smoke and mirrors." And that kind of reminds me of the tagline of Carnival, which is, "Remember, it's only a game." And so I'm really excited to get into this one. So I'm going to start this, and then I'll be back to tell you more about the story and my first thoughts once I've read some. So it's now Sunday, April 19th, and I am more than halfway through Carnival Fantastico. I have made it to chapter 34, page 310. And so far, I'm enjoying this. I'm having a good time with this book for the most part. And one of my favorite things about this book is definitely the magical carnival setting. And just like the magical, whimsical way that this carnival is described really reminds me of the night circus. For example, people learn that the carnival is arriving to their town only hours before it arrives, and they learn through bell-shaped flowers landing on their doorsteps and flyers just magically appearing and plastering themselves to buildings and monuments. And then once you're inside the carnival itself, the magic continues, and there are games, and some of the prizes that are described are just so whimsical. So on page 4, these prizes are described as stuffed animals that could grow to the size of a house when soaked in tea, snow globes that call forth real snow when rubbed just right, tiny toy soldiers that served their owners every command, and then there's also wooden pistols which blasted glitter bombs that stuck to the skin and couldn't be washed off for weeks. And so the carnival just sounds like such a magical and enchanting and mesmerizing place. And I definitely like love the vibes of it. And also there's like a lot of mystery surrounding the carnival and its magic as well, because no one really knows how the magic works. And this carnival does have a ringmaster, and his name is Angel. And he reminds me a lot of the ringmaster Carnival Legend. And like Legend, he is very charming, very mysterious, and also rather young. But unlike Legend, his identity isn't unknown. He is well known, and he's actually made various appearances throughout this book interacting with our main characters. And speaking of our main characters, there are two, so this book is dual perspective. And our first main character that we're introduced to is Esmeralda. She has come to the carnival seeking a safe haven, because when you're at the carnival, you're safe from the outside world. And she is on the run from the leader of their country, who is also the commander of the military. And so she has been at this carnival for almost a year now, working as a fortune teller. And the thing is, she is a fake fortune teller. She doesn't have any magical abilities, but she is really good at reading people. And so that's how she has been working as a fortune teller at the carnival. That being said, the carnival is organized based on like how popular your act is, and so the most popular acts are in the big tent of the carnival. They're the main attraction of the carnival, and Esmeralda is very unknown and not very popular, and so she is very much on the outskirts of the carnival. And one of the rules of the carnival is that you can only stay there for a year and then you have to leave. Unless you are the main act, then you get to stay for a very long time. And at the beginning of the story, the main act has just retired, and so there is a competition that's going to be held to determine the next main act. And Esmeralda is determined to win this competition because she needs to stay in the carnival so she can stay safe. And so she is determined to do anything that she needs to win this competition, while also trying not to think about the boy who broke her heart. And that boy is our other main character, Ignacio. So Ignacio is the son of the military commander that Esmeralda is on the run from. And him and Esmeralda, they grew up together and they were boyfriend and girlfriend. And you get glimpses into their past relationship in this book through the form of letters that they wrote to each other. And I just really love that part of this. And you learn that they gave each other nicknames, Dove and Pigeon, and I just really enjoying that part of their romance. I think that part's really cute and sweet. But then some things end up happening and the relationship ends in heartbreak, and they each believe the other betrayed them. Now they're just both full of anger and hurt and also still in love with each other. And Ignacio ends up learning that his father has been hiding some secrets and lying to him, because he had told Ignacio that they were fighting the war against this other country in order to protect their country from invasion. But Ignacio ends up learning that it's actually the other way around, that his father and their army are actually the ones who are invading the other country because they are trying to get this certain resource. And so Ignacio ends up joining a rebellion group that are trying to bring his father down, and his hunt for evidence against his father ends up leading him to Carnival Fantastico, and there he ends up reunited with Esmeralda. And their first meeting does not go well because they are both angry and hurt at each other, and so when they first meet again, they are very petty towards each other, and that's a part of their relationship that I didn't really enjoy. The way they first interact with each other, I feel like they were petty and mean to each other to the extreme. Like, it felt very childish, and I know they're like only 19, but still it kind of felt like they were acting like middle schoolers, and that dynamic between them does go on for a little bit. And then also, there is some miscommunication involved in their relationship as well, and the resolution of that is also dragged out a little bit, which I also wasn't a big fan of that. That frustrated me a little bit. But at the point where I am at now in the book, they have finally resolved that issue, and so now the romance is then just very cute and sweet. And I've been very much enjoying this part of their romance. And so I'd say like overall the weakest link of the book so far has been the romance for me because I'm enjoying some parts of it but not other parts. And then in addition to Ignacio and Esmeralda, there are some minor characters as well, but I feel like none of them really stand out to me and I don't feel super attached to any of them. And the minor character that I'm actually the most interested in is the ringmaster. And he is just so interesting because he is definitely hiding some secrets and I need to know what those secrets are. And that's my other favorite thing about this book so far, in addition to the setting, is just like the mystery that's going on here about exactly what this ringmaster is up to and exactly what is going on at this carnival, because you learn very early on that while this carnival is magical and whimsical, it also has a sinister and dark side to it. And so there has been like a string of unfortunate events happening in this book that have like kept my eyes glued to the page and my fingers turning these pages to find out exactly what is going on. And I feel like we'll be getting those answers very soon, which I am really excited about that. And so I am gonna go finish this, and once I am done, I will be back with my final thoughts. I love the little notes that they wrote to each other when they were younger teenagers. They're so cute. Hi, so I'm here with my final thoughts on Carnival Fantastico because I did finish this last week. I think it might have been on Friday. I don't remember anymore because the days have just been blurring together for me. But it is now the following Wednesday. And so this book I ended up really enjoying. I especially really enjoyed like the second half of it. It was very fast paced, very exciting. And I had like one of those moments while reading the second half of this where I had like an eureka moment where everything like just clicked together for me and I saw where what the story was going, and that just felt like so satisfying because it wasn't super predictable, but like if you were paying attention, like eventually the puzzle pieces all clicked together. And that's the one thing that I felt was very strong in this book was the plot. The plot flowed very well and it felt very compact, and like all the puzzle pieces came together like perfectly at the end. And speaking of the ending, this is a standalone, so everything did wrap up very nicely and I really liked how things ended. And also in the second half of this, I really enjoyed the romance and I enjoyed it so much more than I did in the first half. And I just really liked the romance in the second half because our two main characters were finally past their feelings of betrayal and acting petty towards each other, and we're just being really cute and sweet. And similarly, the minor characters also grew on me a little bit in the second half of this. And so I'm giving this 4 stars, and I would say if you are a fan of Carnival by Stephanie Garber or The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern, then you should definitely check this one out. And so the next and final book that we are going to read in this vlog is actually one that I saw at the library the last time I was there. And I was surprised they had it because it just came out this past January. And it's actually a book that was on my most anticipated list for last year, but the release date ended up getting pushed back to this year. And so I'm going to go back to the library tonight and hopefully it's still there and then we can start it. So, as you saw from the B-roll, the next book I picked up was Dragon Cursed by Elise Kova, and I'm already more than halfway through this. So I am on chapter 42, page 245, and so far I'm just having a really good time with this book. So this one takes place in a world that was devastated by this plague called the Scourge, and so it ruined all the land, and so now there's only one human city left. And so our story takes place in that city, the city of Vingard. And as a result of the Scourge, it turned people into dragons. And so now the people have been at war with the dragons. And there's this condition called Dragon Cursed, in which if you harbor this curse within you, at some point you will transform into a dragon, into a mindless beast, and go on a killing spree. And so as a way to weed out the dragon curse from the population, everyone, when they're 18 years old, has to undergo a 3-week test that consists of 3 trials. And the test is very brutal and very harsh because the purpose of it is to push you to your limits so that if you do harbor the curse within you, it will come out. And so at the beginning of this book, our main female character, Isola, is getting ready to go undertake this test. But her position is even more complicated because she is seen as the reincarnation of the hero of her people. And so this hero was the one that rallied the people against the dragons, and he ended up going on a quest to slay the elder dragon, which is the oldest dragon and leader of the dragons. And he failed to defeat the elder dragon, but he's still seen as a hero and is expected that Isola will take up the mantle of defeating the elder dragon. And so under the last 5 years, she has been under the guidance of the vicar, and he is like the leader of their people. He is one of the main people in charge, and so he has been training her the last 5 years. And he is not a good person. His training methods are inhumane, and I just hate him. Like, he is definitely one of the main villains of this story. It's made clear very early on that he definitely has some ulterior motives. So as the reincarnation of the hero, Isola is supposed to have like these certain magical abilities. And so he has been trying to get her to manifest these abilities. And speaking of the magic system, I feel like that's the only thing in this book that I really have complaints about. I don't feel completely sold on it yet, and I feel like at the moment it still feels just like a little underdeveloped and a little bit bare bones. But hopefully it will get more development before the end of the book. And I will say though that like the scenes where Isola does use the magic system are exciting. It's just that I don't feel completely sold on the magic system yet. And so along with the vicar having ulterior motives, it also seems like him and some of the other people in charge are keeping secrets about the dragons and the curse. And so I'm very intrigued about that. I want to know more about that. And so while the vicar believes that Isola is the reincarnation of this hero, Isola doesn't really believe that. She actually thinks she is dragon cursed. And so she is not looking forward to undergoing this test. And so the majority of this book has been following her taking this test, and it has been like very action-packed and very exciting. There's like never a dull moment in this book, and the chapters are also really short, so it's so easy just to read one chapter and then be like, oh, I'm just gonna read one more. And so that is also making this book very bingeable. And so the tests and the trials so far have been very brutal, very harsh, and in that way this book is definitely giving Fourth Wing vibes. And as a part of this test, Isola and others her age are locked into this building and they can't leave. And so like very early on, you already see like certain groups forming between people, and Isola ends up forming a small group with her best friend, and the love interest. And in addition to enjoying how exciting and action-packed this book is, the other thing I'm really enjoying is the relationships in here. And my favorite are the relationship between Isola and her best friend, and then her relationship with the love interest. And so the love interest is the vicar's son. And so at first, Isola views him as the enemy because he has been her shadow for the past 5 years, and he has reported everything back to the vicar. And so she has resentment for him. And so in the beginning, you get some enemy to lovers vibes between the two of them. But it also comes Claire very early on that she is really the only one who views him as an enemy. Like, he never viewed her in that way, and so the enemies to lovers thing is totally one-sided. And so they're not at odds for very long in this book because they end up teaming up pretty early on. And so there's already been like just some really cute moments between the two of them. And the romance is a slow burn. There's tension, there's a yearning, and I'm just really enjoying it so far. And so far, I'm just really enjoying this. I'm very excited to read more. I want to know what's going to happen next. I want to see how the romance progresses. I want to learn the truth about the dragons and the curse. And so I feel like the last bit of this is going to go really fast. So my next update will probably be when I finish. So I finished Dragon Curse. And first thing I just have to say, the way this ended, I originally thought this was a standalone going into it. I definitely read somewhere that it was, but it definitely is not. And like the last 50 pages, I was so worried because I was like, oh my gosh, how is this all going to wrap up in 50 pages? There's like so much going on still. And so it turns out it's actually a duology, which explains a lot. And maybe this was originally supposed to be a standalone because the release date did get pushed back from last year to this year. So maybe somewhere along the line it changed into a duology. But the way this ended, of course, on a cliffhanger, and I have so many questions. And if you enjoyed Fourth Wing, you definitely enjoyed this one. In this one, like, Fourth Wing takes place in like a brutal, harsh world, and it's action-packed, and there's never a dull moment. And also kind of similar to Fourth Wing, it's the relationships in here, the romance and the friendships that add like a little bit of warmth to the story. And one of my favorite things about this book was the relationships in here. Specifically, the romance in here and Isola's relationship with her best friend. And then another element of this book that I really liked was the dragons and just like the history of the dragons and the story behind the dragons in this book. I feel like this book had like a unique take on dragons that I haven't really seen before. And then similarly to Fourth Wing, the dragons in here are different colors, and along with those different colors, they have different characteristics. And then my only complaint about this book is the same one that I mentioned in my earlier update, is the magic system. So I feel like the magic system just overall feels a little lacking here, a little lackluster, and just like overall it feels like a little hazy to me. But comparing the magic system to Fourth Wing, so in Fourth Wing the characters have special abilities, and the special abilities are rather straightforward, but they just have like this element of like coolness to them and just like pizzazz, and I feel like this book is missing that a little bit in the magic system. Like, it doesn't have that pizzazz. But that's the only complaint I have about this, and there's like so much else going on in this book that even though the magic system felt a little lacking to me, it didn't really affect my overall enjoyment of this book. I still really enjoyed this. I still really had a great time, and I would definitely recommend it if you were a fan of Fourth Wing, or if you like books that are action-packed and fast-paced. And so I'm giving this one 4 stars. And so this is the last book that I wanted to read in this vlog, so we'll be ending this video here. Let me know down below if you read any of these books, what you thought of them. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, bye!